Welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers. Hello, and welcome to the holiday edition of the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry podcast. This is Guy, and we had an amazing year interviewing some amazing people in the jewelry industry, and what we did is found the best moments and advice through all the different episodes and compiled them here for you. There were so many that we created 2 parts, so this is part 1. Enjoy.
There's a whole lot going on right now. This is a very, very interesting time in our industry. I've been around for a whole lot of years, I got to tell you. This is a very interesting time. There's a lot going on with people, the changes in people, shifting generationally, and then every crazy thing that could possibly have happened based on the pandemic experience that people had. Consumers are behaving completely differently, which, by the way, is another big thing that we pay a tremendous amount of attention to, is consumer behavior, because everything we do is driven by what we learn every day about consumer behavior. Nothing matters if we don't know what the customer is doing.
Right.
You know, you can't train a staff if you don't know what's going on with changes in the customer base and things of that nature. But those changes in the customer base and the pandemic-related changes are also rolling over into changes in the employment pool and staffing and what people think and how they behave. And the biggest challenge, I think, for a lot of employers, whether they are jewelers or designers, manufacturers, is that they haven't quite gotten their head around the idea that you can't keep doing things the way you did them before when everything around you has changed. It's just it stops working at a certain point, and those that are sensitive to that sort of thing are doing very well, and others are really finding it to be a struggle. Look at systems and procedures, particularly with regard to people and training carefully. Particularly retail jewelers. This is kind of interesting. The manufacturers and designers, most of them are bigger companies generally than the retailers, so they have just a little bit more structure around them. Most retail jewelers, until they specifically decide to focus on this, really don't have a lot of structure. They do things kind of by gut, and they do it by, you know, the way it's always been done here and things like that. Problem is, when you're hiring people that just don't think that way, that need more structure, that, you know, you can't expect them to deliver when they don't have the parameters that they can look at and say, yeah, that's what you expect of me. So that's, I think, the biggest thing is that they're finally, there's a lot of them that are catching on now to the fact that they've got to step back and they've got to say, okay, you know, before I say that this person's not doing the job, have I really taken the time to say exactly what the job is? Do they know what I expect of them? And you can't get by with, this is one of the things that came out in the session yesterday that we did here at RJO, was, you know, you're not paying these people to read your mind.
Right.
It's not on them to figure out what you want. And common sense, by the way, are 2 words that don't ever go together in the English language, in my opinion. They just don't go. And unfortunately, most people say, well, it's just common sense. They've been here for how long? Saying, nah, it doesn't work. Yeah. Let's back up the ponies here and start with putting some structure around what you want. There's a lesson in this, and this is what's really important, okay? We know where we are now, and we know that it's a really difficult spot, particularly for skill positions like jewelers. But if we don't learn anything from how we got here, this is going to be an ongoing problem. How we got here is this. As I said, I've been around a long time, and I grew up watching the jewelers that were all kind of the same age range.
Yeah.
Okay? These guys, and I say that most of them at the time were guys. Okay? Women just didn't do that dirty work. You know, I'm talking 25, 30 years ago. Yeah. So these guys got their start however they got it, whether it was, you know, passed down through the family, they went to a trade school after the war, their father taught them, whatever it was. But they were all of generally the same age. They were all pushing close to retirement age. Nobody was really saying that they were going to retire. But the one thing that most of them had in common, and I won't say all ever, but most of them had in common, is that they refused to take on apprentices. It was too much work to train somebody. They could do the work themselves better than they could bring somebody along. There's only so many schools for this, for jewelers, and then you got to find the people that want to go to school. But these guys didn't train apprentices for the most part. Okay, there are several highly successful businesses in our industry where that's their business model. They bring in young people, they train them well, and they're growing bench jewelers. But that's how they're feeding their businesses. So what we've learned from, and the rest of that story, by the way, is that when the pandemic hit, a huge number of those guys retired. It just wasn't worth having to come back to it after being closed down for a certain amount of time or whatever. So all these guys leave, they retire, they die. I mean, crazy, whatever happened. But at the end of the day, we were left with this giant void. because there weren't enough people trained to step in. So what we're telling our clients now across the board is your jeweler's number one priority is to train an apprentice. I don't care if you do minimal volume or maximum volume. We help them go to colleges, high schools even. Find the kid. There's a lot going on in the country now about trade schools. Give me a kid who really doesn't want to go to college right now, but who's good with her hands or his hands, who's an artist who wants that sort of work. Take that person and teach them.
Right.
And the biggest objection, well, what do I do so that they don't leave and go to work for somebody else?
Exactly.
You just do your best.
Treat them well.
Exactly. You treat them well, you do your best, and you get what you're paying for while you're paying for it.
Right.
Well, we're always, the industry is always, proclaiming that invest in your employees. This is what you need to do. Some of the successful stores that I know through my many years are the ones that actually do reach out to the high schools. They go to in their community. We're always saying, hey, do you really want to, go get involved in your community, Rotary Club, and, go out there and network. They need to take that same for getting their customers and do the same with finding qualified employees who are motivated to come in. I started out when I was 16 years old in the jewelry business. And I was piercing ears in the mall. And I absolutely loved it. And I did that for many years. And that was the beginning of my love to get into the industry.
Pain.
That's it. I'll say that, yeah. That was the beginning of my life-inflicting pain.
Yes.
And that's that we need to do as an industry to solve this people problem, okay? The first is to understand that we have a lot to offer, okay? There's a lot of people running around, particularly retailers, that are terrified about the fact that they can't compete with Sonic, who's having to pay $18 an hour just to get people. And how am I going to? I said, well, you don't, because you have a lot more to offer. There are requirements that come with that sort of, $18 an hour to put burgers in a bag. And I'm not diminishing the job by any means, but what I'm saying is that Sonic's not a dumb company. As an example, they've been around for a long time. If they're paying you $18 an hour, Lisa, to put burgers in a bag, you have a goal of X number that have to go in there. Otherwise, it's not profitable for them. Okay? So the standards are tight. So what looked like a good thing to do for an extra $1 an hour a year and a half ago when that jewelry employee went to do that, all of a sudden is not such a good thing anymore because they're either losing their job or they don't want to be there. So the first thing is we have to understand that we can compete. The other thing that the independent jeweler has to understand, important when it comes to the competition in terms of employees, is that you got to get past I'm going to call it the chain store mentality.
Okay.
That says that, okay, you come in as a salesperson, and then if you're really good as a salesperson, we're going to promote you to manager and you're going to get your own store. Hold on. That's like saying, all right, guy, you are the best carpenter I've ever seen, so I'm going to promote you to plumber. I mean, it makes no sense. But that's that mentality. So what happens is the independent jewelers feel like they really can't bring people in because in their view, they don't have that career path.
Right.
But what they don't understand is most of those people who are successful salespeople are not going to make great managers. So, because it's a different skill set. It's a totally different skill set. So, they have to understand that what they have to offer is the direct ability to let someone grow in skills that they love, doing things that they love without making them change jobs to get ahead. So it's a whole different perspective. Okay, so until we get to that, and people are not afraid of what else is going on around them, they're going to struggle with people.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, is what makes them keep the people that they should have gotten rid of a long time ago.
Right. So you think that you help people. Is that?
That's about right. Yeah, you can say that.
So, I always love asking people why. What's your why? What's your why? Why is it that you love helping people?
When I think about it, I could measure my success by my own successes, but with the work that I do, I get to measure my success by everybody else's success. So on the perfectly selfish side, on the altruistic side, that's a wonderful thing. I love to see people be successful. But on the perfectly selfish side, I don't get to just enjoy mine. I get to enjoy everybody else's, and it's just a lot bigger that way.
I don't know. This industry is amazing. RJO is amazing, obviously.
So that's a lot of amazing.
Let's just drop the mic and we're done.
Can we be done now?
She would like that.
It's all good, yeah.
I've said it to my owner. I've said it to all of my bosses. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the people that I talk to on the other end of the line most days of the week.
Oh, that's so humbling.
And it really is. I walk in those doors. Oh,
Well,
did you
maybe
just do
you're
an Aubrey?
You're only as good as, your peers or how you're viewed by your...
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
But hey, look, there's a little finesse in being a good salesperson. You've got to have really good communication skills, and you have to be real. People will know when you're being some fake ass shit. Okay?
Sometimes people, in sales, there's a lot of salespeople that want to push their agenda. This is my agenda. I want you to be on my schedule. I want you to buy this at this price. But then, sometimes that is the end result. But you can find out what's important, why you're doing this, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. And then, by the way, this, what we have to offer is going to do this. And sometimes you get to the same result, but you come out
The
to
feeling
be
isn't
friends.
as great, though, with some of those results. Wouldn't you agree?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
True.
Engage the brain first. My dad wrote that in my passage, and that was all they wrote for my senior picture in my yearbook was engage the brain first.
I like it.
And it just, it resonates.
There you
My
go.
mom and dad, that was love mom and dad, and then my brother's name. So the little messages
Think
they put.
before you speak.
Engage your brain first. Like,
Get your
don't just
education.
diarrhea of the mouth, Aubrey. Like, they know me, obviously. They've raised me.
Depending on the size of the business, the one advice is I want to make sure that business owners are taking the proper steps to have the right retirement plan in place to where they could maximize the benefits under the current IRS rules. Something like a cash balance plan, which could allow the business owner to really save an extraordinary amount of money into a retirement account and tax-deductible contributions, 6 figures, if the income supports it. There's an old term in economics called specialization, and it rings so true that people should specialize in what they do best and allow others to do for them what they can't do best.
Yep.
And as long as it's economically feasible and viable and value can be seen in the service that you're receiving, it's a no-brainer.
I can't imagine just getting into it now without having a mentor like my father. It would be very, very difficult to get into it now. He learned a lot of things just by trial and error that then he taught me that I didn't have to learn by trial and error. And so I think it's great to be a second generation. And, I can't recommend that because you only had that available if your family was already in the business. But I am glad to have had him teaching me all my life, really. I have one son, and sent him we took him out of college and sent him to one of the jewelry schools, just a week-long course, one of those short courses. And he didn't take to it like we thought he would because he didn't have anybody to apprentice under. Jewelry bench work is really something that is you almost have to apprentice under somebody with that. Right. And so he's not in the business anymore. And I want him to be happy. But if I could wave my magic wand, I would put him right here next to me and make him third generation. It just wasn't meant to be. And Richard suggested that I do this and be a concierge jeweler or whatever the label you want to give it. And I am so grateful to him that he recommended that because, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I don't think I would have tried to do that without his encouragement.
Right.
And so that's how I wound up doing this.
Right.
It's been I'm just so grateful to RJO. I would not be where I am today if not for RJO. And it gives me access to, it lets me operate as a large store. I have access to anything anybody wants. Somebody wants a 10-carat diamond, I can get it for them because I can get it through RJO. And any company knows they're going to be paid for whatever I order. And it has been the key to my success, I would really say, is RJO.
When I first started my sales career when I was 16, someone told me that stories sell and facts just tell.
That's right.
And it's the stories. And that's why we love this podcast and want to get people on like you, because it's your story that people will be interested in.
Dad, years ago when he first wound up with the jewelry store, and he was about 25, I think, when he accidentally bought a jewelry store. That's another story.
Right.
But he was trying to figure out what to do. He'd saved up a little bit of money and he wanted to know whether to invest in the stock market or to, buy more inventory and try to grow the store. And this older gentleman who was a pretty well-known businessman in town told him to always invest in yourself, because that's the best investment you will make. And count on yourself to allow you to have a return on investment rather than a big company out there to invest in a stock or some bond and be dependent on that. My GIA background, the Gemological Institute of America, has really paid off. More so than I thought at the time when I was out there. It was a long time ago when I did it, but I'm so glad I have that knowledge in my background. And so I would recommend that. But yeah, you learn so much from other people. I learned so much just from going to the RJO shows, going to the Atlanta show, going to Las Vegas and taking seminars. The Alabama Jewelers Association had just an awesome seminar this past weekend in conjunction with Jewelers of America. And they had some awesome seminars on Saturday that I attended. And that keeps it keeps me going, and it inspires you, and it keeps you knowledgeable about the industry. And I think all of that is so important.
What we've done by giving Jesus and Alejandra these better tools, now they have the tools to learn the skills that they may not have ever been exposed to, and be able to make a better living with the equipment. So, like now, like the last time when we came down there, we brought 4 suitcases filled with equipment, and one of them was with laptops. So I was teaching Alejandro when I was there CAD, and somebody donated a 3D printer, a good one.
Wow.
And so, they could, like, the some of the jewelers here don't even have that. And it's, just expanding it out, just because they, were born in a different country, they should still have access to the same equipment that we have. And it sucks when money gets in the way. So it's been great that people have donated to be able to give all the equipment and everything. Even the shipping, we had the guy that took care of the shipping, he did it for like 1/3 the price of what everyone else wanted to ship it for, just because he wanted to help also. So I never go into anything saying I'm going to help people. It just kind of happens. Like, yeah, I kind of get sucked into it. Like, just like I get drawn to it. And like somebody will say a problem they're having, and then all of a sudden I'm totally involved. Like I was in Bologna, Italy, and I met this jeweler, and he was telling me this problem, and so then I helped him out with this problem, and then when I got back, he called me, and then I sent him some stuff, and like, yeah, I just like kind of fall into these situations. It's happened with a couple different jewelers in Italy, and and then I have apprentices that come to the studio and interns, and they come for a summer internship, and then 5 years later I can't kick them out because I help them, and it's just I don't go out and go, oh, I'm going to help this person and that person. I just like it finds me. I guess that's the way it is.
I think you seem to have a big heart that you want to help people. So that's fantastic. And you found Jesus and Alejandra to help in Mexico, and that's fantastic. If you never met Matthew, how would your life be different today? Would it be very different?
Well, I just can say that that everything that Matthew has sent us, it clearly changed our lives. I mean, there's a lot of tools that we couldn't even imagine to have in our whole life, you know. And well, we work as a team. Jesus is he's the jeweler, and I'm a designer. But I fell in love also with jewelry since he teach me 5 years ago, and I admire him because he's very talented. And right now he's really, really all his talent is just showing off. And what is better is that he loves to spread the knowledge. So he loves being a teacher, and he always is happy to go to the institute and to receive the people here. But when he goes to the institute and these these guys just fall in love with the jewelry, and they are just asking to the principal that they want more jewelry because they just give a few classes of it, and that fills my heart so much. So the life clearly has changed completely. I mean, we couldn't even be in this house right now if Matthew couldn't just bring these tools to us. You know, the life was different then and right now. Thanks to God and Matthew and all the people that fascinated, our lives has changed a lot. And as Matthew says, it's all in us. No, we need to focus and go for more and go for more, and we want to do it completely.
I think that
Fantastic.
I think they would have gotten to where they want to be without me. I just kind of sped it up a little bit. That's all.
We came up with what's the stupidest thing we can do.
Did y'all,
Which
did y'all have a meeting with some Macallan or some beer?
Always.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
By the way, the stupidest idea discussions always like every other day. Man.
Yeah, right.
Brother. Bro. Oh my God. I did not have that one.
Hashtag say bro. And there's some other ones. Check this out. So, it should be memorable. Hope you like it, bro. And then at the bro.
Look at me. I feel like Groot.
2,
I am bro.
3, bro.
I don't know. I don't know if I can remember my line.
Just sorry that y'all don't have a good
Line,
time.
please.
Remember the line?
Oh my God.
Guys, something you don't know, just because as bench jewelers, that once that piece flies out of your hands, everything stops. Because no matter what it is you're doing, because you're like, I'll look for it later. You start to do something, you're like, wait, hang on, it's gotta be. And so everything stops. And if you're lucky, you get your shop completely cleaned and scrubbed before you find it. Because if you find it quickly, then your shop stays a mess.
Right.
But the only way you start putting stuff away.
And you do that whole, okay, so I think it whizzed past my ear. Yeah, you know, and you're like, it's on the left side, you know, trying to figure that out. But it's this thing where there's a customer that they were sending us like 70 jobs a year. And they were sending all 70 jobs in July, every year in July. And I'd call them and go like, what's going on? Are you mad at me? And they're like, no, I'm mad at my jeweler. And I'm trying to make sure he understands that I have other options. So they were just boxing up the work. And they're like, about once a year, I have to, you know, reset everything.
That happened to me back in the 80s. I came in one day and all of a sudden my work box was empty. And it was just a, hey, we have other options here. And I tell you what, it straightened me out pretty quick. And I became very efficient for another 9-10 months.
Yeah, another year until they had to do it again. That's exactly right.
It has always made us different. We started doing custom work in 1969 from scratch.
A few years ago. Okay. Yeah.
That's been a while, right? And our emphasis has always been colored stones.
Yeah.
Not diamonds. In fact, the guy that I originally went to work for, I was 17, 18 years old. Diamonds had one purpose. They were accent stones. You still don't find that anywhere.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was raised in the business, literally a freshman in college when I started the job. And I only find out later that that's what made us unique. And you got a 3-carat diamond? I will tomorrow. I'll get you one in. You got a 4-carat ruby? You bet, man. I got 5 of them.
Yeah.
That's great.
But we're also kind of the old guys in town. I am the old guy in town, and I love it because, I love the millennials and everything. I got, we got 4 of them that have grown up and gone out on their own. But I'm, approaching 65, and I kind of have an issue with their mindset sometimes.
Join the club.
But I am so learning, and I feel like that's going to be where the future is.
Yeah.
Why we did as well as we did is we call it the way we see it. When I see something that was badly repaired, or they went somewhere and said, well, this piece needs this, this, and this, and 10 out of 11 jewelers here would say there's nothing wrong with it. You just need to tighten the stones. Mm-hmm. We have always stuck to that mantra. You call it the way you see it, because that's the truth.
Right.
And that pays off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so many jewelers here where we all know each other.
Yeah.
And that is probably our single biggest relationship we have we've talked about different jewelers and that why are they successful? I think it's because we all really do subscribe to that mindset. Boy, you got to watch every single dollar. These days you think, well, I ordered that little piece in from Stoller and it was $6. I'll just keep it. That will eat your lunch in a year's period of time.
Yeah, true.
If there was any single thing, it's that little stuff that takes away from that real aha on December 31st, because you realize how much of it was there.
Right.
We're discounting. I don't know that that's so much an issue maybe with independence anymore.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us do our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get how stores make it when they don't have a jeweler on site. I've got 2, and that's exciting in its own respect, because the one guy's like 71 and the other one's like 38. And the cool thing about the 71-year-old, he's old school and he has how he does stuff. Right. If there's a piece or a part you don't have, you don't wait 3 days for it to come in from Stoller. You make it yourself.
Right.
And that's the only thing is a lot of the younger kids, I'm not sure that they can do that unless they've had that tutelage and wisdom to know how to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a question that came up actually from a customer. Would you rather have knowledge or would you rather have wisdom? Yeah, right?
Wow.
Well, hands down in our business, I want wisdom. The knowledge is the foundation of it, but we all know that the wisdom comes from learning from others.
Right.
And it changes in this industry, every 30 days.
Yeah. It's making mistakes and learning from them, and just keeping on and believing in yourself.
Yep.
You're right. I think wisdom
Wow.
over that. Very interesting. It's good.
Wow. Yeah.
Who is your celebrity crush?
Look at the faces.
The problem is they're not even going to know the names of the people I mentioned.
But I will. Lord, they won't, because they're,
Probably one of my favorite was
Olivia
Newton-John when I was like 30 or 40. She was so hot.
Let's get physical. That's a
They'd
good
have
one.
to look up the name. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
There you go.
You're the one I want. Yep, you're right. What is the best advice you have ever received?
History is the memory of the world.
Ooh.
Wow.
And history is my real thing that I really do like because that is so true. And when we don't keep that history there, then we forget things and bad stuff happens. History is the memory of the world. That's not my quote, but none of us could ever find where it came from, and it's just one of the almost awesome truisms.
Very true. Well, Mark, tell me, what did you buy last as an impulse buy?
This is men's jewelry, some of the multi-leather bracelets, and it was totally driven by our staff.
Did you go by Inox?
Exactly. The line
Shout out to
change-
Inox. He just opened up a new customer here at the RJO show. Sebas, yo, bro. That's their new hashtag.
You know, we were in, our son had graduated from college and we'd gone to Pensacola. We stayed at Margaritaville. Great place. And we're sitting at the bar and there's this guy over next to me, not a whole lot younger than I am. And he's got this good-looking, triple-looking bracelet on. And I don't know who it was made from, but I asked him, I said, where did you get that? And he turns his head to the left, looks at his wife. Where did you get that? She's like, I don't remember. And I said, well, how long have you had it? And she was like 5-6 years. And I thought, he's worn that all these years and it was a gift from her to him. And he would never be caught without it. Well, that's a lot of what we do. I just remember because we found, like in Tucson, we have found dinosaur bone beads.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of stuff. And I don't have anything like that in the store, and I need it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to appeal. They're not buying a wedding ring next week or next year, maybe. But maybe he got a little gift from a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that opens the door. And that's business for the next generation.
Wow.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed part 1 of the holiday edition of the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry Podcast. Stay tuned for part 2 next week. Happy holidays. Thanks for listening to the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry Podcast. For more information about the show, please visit southernjewelrynews.com/podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you can catch the next show. See you then.